I have been stationed on 17 different vessels, served under 9 different commanders, and witnessed the fall of 3 planetary systems, but nothing, absolutely nothing in my 4 decades of military service prepared me for the day I watched a human sergeant tame a Vexrathi cub with a single word. My name is Krell Vaston, and I am a tactical observer for the Galactic Alliance. That is a fancy way of saying I watch things go wrong and write reports about it. Today I am documenting the strangest anomaly in recorded military history: humans. The outpost on Frontier Station 12 was supposed to be routine, simple peacekeeping operation, they said. Light security detail, they promised. What they did not mention was that we would be sharing quarters with a battalion of humans, specifically the Terran 5th Infantry, a collection of bipedal primates who seem to find humor in everything, including their own mortality. Sergeant Marcus Vale was the worst of them. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that looked like it had been carved from old leather and poor decisions. He walked through our corridors like he owned them, whistling something he called rock and roll, which sounded like dying machinery to my ears. The incident happened on day 14 of our joint operation. I was reviewing supply manifests in the commons area when the alarm shrieked. Not the general alert, mind you. This was the biological containment breach signal, the one that makes your stomach drop into your boots and your life flash before your eyes. Attention all personnel. Vexrathi specimen has escaped Quarantine Bay 7. Exercise extreme caution. Lethal force authorized. Now for those blissfully ignorant of Vexrathi biology, let me explain. Vexrathi are apex predators from the Corthan expanse. Adults stand 3 meters tall, possess retractable claws that can slice through battle armor like wet paper, and have jaw strength measured in metric tons. Their cubs, while smaller, are arguably more dangerous because they have not learned restraint. A Vexrathi cub will bite first and never ask questions. The commons area erupted into organized chaos. My fellow Alliance members scrambled for weapons lockers, sealed blast doors, formed defensive perimeters, standard protocol, trained responses, exactly what you would expect from professional soldiers. The humans, however, did something completely different. They laughed. "Oh man," said Private Jenny Marks, actually grinning as she checked her rifle. "Did someone let the murder puppy out again?" "Murder puppy?" I stammered, my translator struggling with the absurd phrase. "Yeah," Sergeant Vale said, walking past me with his weapons slung casually over one shoulder. "Little guy got loose last week too. He just wants to play." Play. The human used the word play to describe a creature that could disembowel him faster than he could blink. I followed them, of course. My job required it. The fact that I was terrified out of my mind was irrelevant. Professional documentation demands presence, even when presence might get you killed. We found the cub in Corridor 6, and it was exactly as horrifying as I expected. Black scales gleaming under the harsh station lights, eyes like molten copper, teeth designed by evolution's cruelest engineer. It had cornered 3 Zenthari technicians against a bulkhead, growling low in its throat, haunches tensed for a strike. The technicians were frozen, rightfully so. One wrong move and they would become statistics. Alliance security arrived first, weapons raised, targeting lasers, painting red dots across the cub's hide. Captain Vaughn, a veteran of the sector wars, began barking orders. "Form firing line. On my mark, concentrated fire on..." "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Sergeant Vale stepped directly into the line of fire, hands raised. "Easy there, Captain. No need to turn this hallway into a barbecue." "Sergeant, step aside. That creature is a Class 4 hostile threat." "That creature," Vale said, his voice dropping into something that might have been authority or might have been amusement. I could never tell with humans, is scared, confused, and probably hungry. Not hostile, just doing what comes natural. It has already attempted to attack station personnel. It is investigating its environment, Vale accounted. Big difference. Look at its ears. They are forward, not back. Curious, not aggressive. I looked. The human was correct. The cub's ear frills were indeed oriented forward, and its tail, while raised, was not lashing. Small details, but apparently significant ones. Captain Vaughn was not impressed. Your expertise in alien biology is noted, Sergeant. Now move or I will move you. Vale sighed, the kind of long-suffering exhalation that suggested he dealt with this sort of thing regularly. Then he did something that stopped my hearts. He walked toward the Vexrathi cub, not carefully, not with weapon drawn. Just strolled up like he was approaching a domestic animal. The Alliance soldiers shouted warnings. The technicians whimpered. I may have made an undignified sound myself. The cub snarled, showing teeth that could shred flesh. Vale stopped, but he did not retreat. He did not even tense. He just stood there, completely relaxed, watching the creature with something that looked disturbingly like patience. Hey there, buddy, he said, voice low and calm. Having a big adventure today, aren't you? Bet the world outside your cage looks pretty exciting. The cub's snarl diminished slightly, its copper eyes fixed on Vale with what I could only describe as confusion. Here was a potential prey item that was not running, not attacking, not showing fear. The cub's entire behavioral framework was being challenged. Yeah, I get it, Vale continued, taking one slow step closer. New place, new smells, everyone running around screaming, probably pretty overwhelming, huh? Makes you want to bite something just to feel in control again. Another step. The cub's haunches remained tense, ready to spring. But here is the thing, Vale said, and I swear his tone became almost conversational. Biting people is going to get you shot. And I really do not want to fill out the paperwork for that. So much paperwork. You have no idea. Was he joking? At a time like this? The human was completely insane. Vale knelt down, bringing himself to the cub's eye level. A Vexrathi can leap 15 meters from a stationary position. He was now well within killing range. You know what you need? He asked the creature. You need something appropriate to chew on. Because I am guessing nobody gave you a proper toy when they locked you in that box. He reached to his belt, moving with deliberate slowness, and removed one of his gloves. The thick, reinforced kind that soldiers wear for equipment handling. He held it out, dangling it like bait. The cub's eyes locked onto the glove immediately. That is right, Vale murmured. Much better target than those technicians. This thing is tough, already broken in, and I was going to replace it anyway. The cub lunged. Every weapon in the corridor swiveled to fire. My translator screamed proximity warnings. Time seemed to stretch like heated polymer. The cub's jaws closed around the glove, and Vale let it pull the glove from his hand. But instead of pressing the attack, the cub backed up, shaking the glove violently, worrying it like prey. Vale stood slowly, backing away while the cub focused entirely on its new prize. There you go, much better. Get all that energy out. Sergeant, Captain Vaughn hissed, what do you think you are? Establishing trust, Vale interrupted, not taking his eyes off the cub. Give me 1 minute. The cub bit down hard, and the reinforced fabric tore with a satisfying ripping sound. The creature made a noise that might have been pleasure, might have been triumph. It shook the glove again, absolutely delighted with itself. Then Vale did something that made my blood freeze solid in my veins. He reached out his bare hand toward the creature. Okay, murder puppy. That is enough. Drop it. His voice was firm but not harsh. Commanding but not threatening. It carried the kind of authority that suggested disobedience was not even a consideration. The cub froze mid-shake. Its eyes, still molten copper, fixed on Vale with something I could only describe as shock. Drop it. I have heard weapons discharge, engines explode, hulls breach in vacuum. None of those sounds prepared me for what happened next. The Vexrathi cub, apex predator in training, terror of the Corthin expanse, dropped the glove from its jaws and whined. A high-pitched, almost mournful sound that seemed completely impossible, coming from something designed to kill. Its ears flattened, its tail drooped, and it looked at Vale with what could only be described as apology. Good, Vale said, and his voice softened immediately. Very good. See, that was not so hard. He picked up the mangled glove, examined it, then tossed it back to the cub, who caught it with obvious joy and immediately resumed its enthusiastic destruction. Vale turned to Captain Vaughn. "So here is what is going to happen. I am going to escort our friend back to quarantine. You are going to have your people stand down, and someone is going to explain to me how a Class 4 predator escaped containment twice in 2 weeks, because that seems like a problem we should address." The captain sputtered, "You cannot just watch me." And he did. Vale walked back toward the cub, which was now happily destroying the glove while making contented growling sounds. He stopped about 2 meters away. "All right, buddy, playtime is over. Need to get you back home." The cub looked up, gloves still clenched in its jaws. "Come on," Vale said, patting his thigh like he was calling a domestic animal. "Let us go." And the Vexrathi cub, this creature of tooth and claw and evolutionary murder, trotted after him like a trained pet, glove dangling from its mouth like some bizarre trophy. The entire corridor stood in stunned silence as Sergeant Vale and the apex predator walked away together, the human still whistling that same broken tune. I stood there, my 4 hands trembling, my report recorder blinking uselessly, trying to process what I had just witnessed. Around me, Alliance soldiers slowly lowered their weapons, looking at each other with the universal expression of beings who no longer understood how the universe worked. Private Marks patted my shoulder as she walked past, grinning. "First time seeing the Sarge work his magic, huh? Yeah, he has got away with the murder puppies. Last month he made friends with a Krathan swarm mother. Did not think that was possible, but here we are." I found my voice, though it came out several octaves higher than intended. "How? That should not be possible. Vexrathi neural structures do not respond to vocal commands. They are driven by instinct, not reason." Marks shrugged. "Guess nobody told the Sarge that. Or maybe nobody told the cub. Either way works out pretty good for everyone." She walked off, leaving me alone with my malfunctioning understanding of biology, behavior, and reality itself. I have been writing reports for the Alliance for 23 years. I have documented fleet movements, tactical decisions, first contact protocols, but as I stood in that corridor, watching the humans return to their duties like nothing extraordinary had happened, I realized I had no idea how to explain what I had just seen. How do you document the impossible? How do you explain that humans seem to operate under different rules than the rest of the galaxy? How do you tell your superiors that one of Earth's soldiers just tamed an apex predator by treating it like a misbehaving juvenile? I decided to start with the facts and hope the analysis would make sense later. Spoiler alert, it would not. But that was day 14. I had no idea how much stranger things were about to become. The following morning, I filed my report and promptly received a summons to Commander Thrace's office. This was never a good Commander Thrace was a Valorian, which meant she had 6 eyes, could see in multiple spectrums, and possessed exactly zero tolerance for what she called nonsense. I stood before her desk, watching all 6 eyes scan my report on separate data pads simultaneously. Her facial tendrils twitched, which generally indicated either deep thought or mounting rage. With Thrace, the difference was often academic. "Observer Vaston," she said finally, her voice carrying that peculiar harmonic that Valorians used when they were about to ruin your day. "I have read your incident report 3 times. Each time, I hoped I had misunderstood something fundamental about your translator. Each time, I was disappointed. Commander, I assure you, the translation is accurate. I witnessed a human sergeant verbally command a Vexrathi cub to release an object, and the creature obeyed. Her middle eyes focused on me with laser precision. Do you understand how that sounds? Completely insane, ma'am. Yes, and yet you stand by this report. Every word, Commander. I have video documentation, if you... She waved a tendril dismissively. I have seen the footage. 5 times. I had the technical division verify it was not altered. It was not. Which means either our understanding of Vexrathi behavior is catastrophically flawed, or humans possess some ability we have failed to document. With respect, Commander, I believe it might be both. Thrace's tendrils stilled, all 6 eyes fixed on me. Explain. The humans call it animal handling, ma'am. Apparently on their homeworld, they have spent thousands of years domesticating predators, turning wild creatures into companions. They have wolves living in their homes, felines that hunt vermin, birds that speak. They even ride animals 10 times their mass for recreation. That is absurd. Apex predators cannot be domesticated. Earth has 47 species of domesticated carnivores, Commander. I checked. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, Thrace's primary eyes closed, a sign of deep fatigue. So you are telling me that humans have accidentally discovered a xenobiological technique that the entire Galactic Alliance has deemed impossible? Not accidentally, ma'am. Deliberately. They seem to think it is normal.
Of course they do.
She manipulated her datapad with 2 tendrils while the others drummed an irritated rhythm on her desk. Very well. You will continue observing. I want daily reports. If humans can do this with one species, I need to know if they can do it with others. The strategic implications are, well, staggering. Understood, Commander. Dismissed. And Vaston, try not to let them tame anything that could destroy the station. I have enough problems. I left her office with a growing sense that my comfortable career as a routine observer had just become significantly more complicated. That afternoon, I found Sergeant Vale in the station's makeshift gymnasium. He was doing something humans called pull-ups, which involved hanging from a bar and lifting his entire body weight repeatedly. It looked exhausting and pointless, but humans seemed to enjoy suffering. Observer Vaston, he grunted, dropping to the floor with casual grace. Come to ask about yesterday's excitement? How did you know? Because you have been following me for 6 hours, and you have that look, the confused alien look. I see it a lot. I decided directness was best. How did you make the Vexrathi obey you? Vale grabbed a towel, wiping sweat from his face. Did not make it obey. That is the wrong framework. I communicated with it. Vexrathi do not possess language centers capable of understanding vocal commands. Sure they do, just not the way you think. He gestured to a nearby bench. Sit, let me tell you about dogs. For the next 20 minutes, Sergeant Vale explained concepts that should have been impossible. Tone of voice, body language, confidence projection, something called pack hierarchy. He spoke about reading behavioral cues, establishing trust, and understanding what he called prey drive versus play drive. You treated a predator like it was a social animal, I said slowly. 'Cause it is. Vexrathi hunt in family groups, right? That means social structure, rules, communication. You just need to figure out what language they speak, and it is not verbal. But the command, you told it to drop the glove, and it did. Vale smiled. That was not about the words, my friend. That was about intent. I projected absolute certainty that it would obey. Animals, all animals, respond to confidence. If you act like you are in charge, they believe you are in charge. Fake it till you make it. That is ridiculous. Behavioral science does not work that way. Yeah, how many species has your alliance successfully domesticated? I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. That is, well, we have not. It is not considered possible with sapient species ethics, and wild species are too dangerous. Humans have been doing it since before we invented writing. We turned wolves into poodles. We made cats so lazy they sleep 20 hours a day. We taught birds to curse at us. It is kind of our thing. Before I could respond, an alarm blared. Not the biological containment this time. This was worse. Combat alert. Vale was moving before the announcement finished. Hostile contact. Section 4. All personnel to battle stations. I followed him through corridors filling with armed soldiers. My translator picked up fragments of human chatter. Raiders, probably. Could be pirates. Could be my ex-wife. She is scarier than both. They joked while running toward danger. Absolutely insane. We reached Section 4 to find chaos. A raiding party had breached the outer hull. Caranth marauders, 6 of them, heavily armed and already engaging Alliance security. Energy weapons strobed in the confined space. Someone was screaming. Smoke filled the air. The Karenth are bad news, bipedal, aggressive, and completely ruthless. They raid frontier stations for supplies, tech, and hostages. No negotiation, no mercy. Captain Vaughn was coordinating defensive positions when we arrived. Sergeant, take your squad and flank from Corridor 6. We need to box them in. Copy that. Vale signaled his team with quick hand gestures. That was when I heard it. The sound that made my blood freeze. The distinctive roar of a Vexrathi, not a cube. An adult. Oh no, I whispered. Oh yes, Private Marks said, checking her weapon. Quarantine Bay 8 was in Section 4. The breach must have compromised containment. An adult Vexrathi, 3 meters of killing machine, now loose in a combat zone with panicking raiders and defending soldiers. This was about to become a massacre. The roar came again, closer, followed by screaming. Not human screaming, Karenth screaming. Vale held up a fist. His squad froze. He tilted his head, listening with that peculiar focus humans got when they were hunting. It is between us and the raiders. Marks, what do we know about that specimen? Female, 18 standard years, captured after she attacked a colony transport. Highly aggressive. Killed 3 handlers during transport. Command wanted her for xenobiology research. So angry and scared. Great combination. Vale thought for a moment, then did something that proved humans were collectively insane. I am going to talk to it. Sarge, that worked with a cub. This is a full-grown. I know what it is, Marks, but right now it is more scared than those raiders are, and scared plus angry equals unpredictable. I would rather have it calm than unpredictable. You are going to die, I said flatly. Probably not. But hey, if I do, tell Command I want a closed casket. I bruise easily. He moved forward alone. His squad took covering positions, weapons ready but not aimed. They trusted him. Completely. Irrationally. Like family. The adult Vexrathi emerged from the smoke like a nightmare given form. Scales the color of midnight, eyes blazing yellow instead of copper, claws extended and dripping with something I did not want to identify. It saw Vale immediately and roared. A sound that vibrated through the deck plating. Behind it I glimpsed 2 Karenth raiders, very dead, and 3 more retreating rapidly while firing blind shots. Vale did not run, did not even flinch. He stood completely still, hands visible and empty, and waited. The Vexrathi charged. I may have screamed. Several Alliance soldiers definitely did. Vale dropped to one knee, making himself smaller, non-threatening. Easy, girl. Nobody here wants to hurt you. I know you are scared. I know they locked you up. I know this place is loud and confusing, and everyone smells like fear. But I am not your enemy. The creature stopped 3 meters away, close enough to kill him in one leap. It growled, low and continuous, a sound that spoke of rage and terror mixed together. I know, Vale said softly. They took you from your home, put you in a cage, poked you with instruments, treated you like a thing instead of a person. That was wrong. I am sorry. You deserved better. Was he apologizing to it? To an apex predator that had just killed 2 raiders and was about to kill him? The Vexrathi's growl diminished slightly. Its eyes fixed on Vale with something that might have been confusion. But right now there are bad people here. People who want to hurt everyone on this station. And I need your help. I swear the creature's head tilted, like it was considering his words. Those raiders, they are the enemy. Not me. Not my people. Them. Vale pointed toward the retreating Karenth. They broke your cage. They are the reason you are free, but they do not care about you. They just wanted chaos. The Vexrathi looked where he pointed. Then, back at Vale, processing. So here is what I propose. You help me stop them, and I will make sure you get out of that cage permanently. Real freedom. A habitat. Space to run. Maybe even a way home eventually. Deal? Private Marks leaned close to me. Is he negotiating with it? Apparently, I whispered back. The Vexrathi took 1 step forward. Vale did not move. Another step. It was close enough now that I could see its breath fogging in the cool air. Close enough that one swipe of those claws would end the conversation permanently. Then it did something that made me question everything I knew about biology, behavior and reality itself. It lowered its head. Submission posture. Acceptance. Vale reached out slowly and placed his bare hand on the creature's scaled snout. Good girl. Very good girl. Now let us go stop some bad guys. He stood, turned, and walked toward the raider's position. The Vexrathi followed him. Followed. Like a trained companion. His squad stared. I stared. The universe itself seemed to stare. Well, Mark said finally, that is new. What happened next was not a battle. It was a rout. The remaining Caranth raiders found themselves trapped between a human military squad and an adult Vexrathi, who apparently had decided humans were worth protecting. It was over in 4 minutes. Afterward, Vale sat on the deck plating, exhausted, while the Vexrathi lay beside him like an enormous deadly pet. He scratched behind its ear frills. It made a rumbling sound that might have been contentment. Captain Vaughn approached cautiously. Sergeant Vale, I do not know whether to court-martial you or recommend you for a medal. Medal would be nice, sir. Looks good on the uniform. How did you do that? Val looked at the Vexrathi, who was now grooming its claws with single-minded focus. I listened. She did not want to fight. She wanted to be heard. Understood. Everything aggressive about her behavior was fear-based. Once I acknowledged that, once I offered an alternative, she could make a different choice. You talk about it like it has sapience. Maybe it does. Maybe we have just never bothered to look past the teeth and claws. Vale stood, stretching his back with audible pops. With your permission, sir, I would like to oversee her care going forward. Make sure she gets that habitat I promised. You promised a predator a habitat. I gave my word. That matters. Vaughn studied him for a long moment. Granted. But Vale, next time you decide to befriend something that can kill everyone on this station, maybe give me advance warning. Will do, sir. As the casualties were evacuated and the breach was sealed, I watched Sergeant Vale guide the Vexrathi back to a temporary enclosure. She followed willingly, occasionally bumping her massive head against his shoulder in what looked disturbingly like affection. I realized then that my reports were going to fundamentally change how the Galactic Alliance viewed humans, not as allies, not as soldiers, but as something we had no category for. Something that could look at a predator and see not a threat, but a person. Something that could bridge gaps we did not even know existed. Humans were not just capable fighters, they were bridge builders, pack makers. They turned enemies into family without even realizing they were doing something impossible. And that, I decided, was far more terrifying than any predator. Because if humans could tame a Vexrathi with patience and understanding, what else could they accomplish? I filed my report that evening. Commander Thrace called me an hour later. Vaston, she said, all 6 eyes looking simultaneously tired. I am promoting you. Effective immediately. Your new assignment is permanent human observation and cultural liaison. Ma'am, I do not. You will, because apparently, we need someone who understands that humans operate on a completely different behavioral framework than the rest of the galaxy. Someone who can explain why they make friends with murder machines and somehow survive. Understood, Commander. One more thing, Vestem. That Vexrathi, she has a name now. Sergeant Vale calls her Ruby, because her eyes glow like rubies when she is happy, apparently. He discovered she likes having her spine ridges scratched. Of course he did, Ma'am. Indeed, welcome to your new career. It will be strange, baffling, and probably give you nightmares. But it will never be boring. She was right about all of that. 6 months later, Ruby has a custom habitat. 3 trained handlers who learned everything from Vale, and she has not attacked anyone since that day. She apparently enjoys something humans call fetch. The Vexrathi cub, meanwhile, was adopted by the human squad. They call him Sergeant Bitey. He has his own rank insignia. I have stopped questioning these things. As for me, I am writing a book. Working title is Humans Make No Sense, a survival guide for the rest of the galaxy. It is going to be a very long book. But as I watch Sergeant Vale teach 3 Zenthari recruits how to read animal body language, And as Ruby plays gently with Sergeant Bitey in the station's expanded habitat, I realize something important. Humans do not tame predators. They befriend them. They understand them. They offer them choices instead of cages. And somehow, impossibly, that makes all the difference. The galaxy has a lot to learn from these strange primates, and I intend to teach it, one baffling report at a time. After all, someone has to document the impossible. Might as well be me.